It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job, episode 103 today. My name is Mike. That's Brian.
Yo!
Our guest today is Tim Zacharias, brand new president as of this morning of Cougar USA. Congratulations, Tim.
What's up, Tim?
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I guess phenomenal timing, right? I mean,
right?
We always like to go over like pronunciations and titles and all that. And
not only is he doing the reveal within their customer base and all that, and now we are going out to the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
All our hundreds of listeners are going to hear this now.
I'm telling you, remember
what better way
tense?
to announce it? Yeah.
Right? Perfect. So as we get all these started, we want to hear your story. Give us a little history, how you got started in this industry and the roads where you are now as the president.
Absolutely. And thanks again, guys, for having me on. I appreciate that.
Of course.
So I graduated from Texas A&M in 2006 with a finance degree.
Aggies.
And so went on to work for Cisco Foods, doing internal audit. And really it was a kind of financial and operational audit that we would perform on the operating companies 2 weeks out of the year. I was traveling around the country doing that and didn't realize it at the time, but it turned out to be perfect experience for working in and running a manufacturing and distribution company later on down the road. So learned a lot of business processes and do's and don'ts of different kind of responsibilities and segregation of duties, all of those kind of, fun things that you got to get into. And so I did that for a year, and then my dad and I were talking just kind of casually, and he was talking about a role that he needed to fill, kind of project management, helping with accounting. And it's like, you know what, I think I can do that. And kind of jump ship from the corporate world into the family business. And Cougar was started by my dad and his business partner, Scott, back in 2003. So still a young company when I joined in 2007. And from there, kind of worked my way through different parts of the business, digesting where we were, setting up new processes, and until I guess it was early 2017 where we really kind of started to grow up and create a leadership team. That's when I took on the COO role, and over the last few years really been trying to build up the leadership team and the rest of the company be able to start to really grow. And as of this morning, officially the president now of Cougar USA.
That's awesome.
It's kind of
very cool.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of things. I want to go back to a little bit when you were with, you said you left Cisco for the family business. Was there something that kind of pushed that? Or did your dad really, really need you? Or was it something else pushing you from the other side?
Well, I can tell you it wasn't for the money.
I love you, Dad.
Love you, Dad. But that first offer was not very flattering. So definitely, had the long play.
I love that you said first offer as if there was a negotiation between you and your dad when you came over.
No, there was no negotiation. He said, this is all we got.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. It was a combination of a couple things. The job at Cisco, one of the travel was one of the things that originally attracted me to the position, and the kind of the benefits and everything just kind of slowly started to taper off, and we were considered, I guess, a cost center. So we went from staying in nice DoubleTree hotels to, Hampton Inns, and not that Hampton Inn is terrible, but can only eat so much Hampton Inn continental breakfast before I start to go crazy. So it's like, I think I'm just, corporate America is not for me. So it was good timing. And I definitely saw the challenge and the opportunity to go work for Cougar. And, obviously I think it worked out in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you'd be president of Cisco by this point, but I mean, maybe you would.
No, not at all. No. The funny thing is we, I still have a connection there. Their corporate office and a few other facilities here in Houston, we have some equipment in, so still have a little bit of a tie back to.
That's
Cisco,
funny,
which is cool. Yeah.
So, what exactly do you guys do? I know you said there were two different companies. So, what do you guys do?
Sure. So Cougar USA is kind of the umbrella branding and organization. And really underneath that, we have two companies, Cougar Sales and Cougar Systems. And Cougar Sales is a manufacturing rep firm. We represent manufacturers of what we call water control systems. So we provide a combination of pumps, valves, and controls. You can kind of see them in the picture of our training room behind us. And we provide those to high rises, hotels, hospitals, stadiums, any kind of building like that to control water pressure, temperature level, flow, and quality. So literally, if it has to do with water in one of those buildings, we probably have a system that can help control it. So on the rep side, we're buying from about a dozen different manufacturers, packaging the equipment together, and then redistributing it out to typically a plumbing mechanical subcontractor is who
as a complete set kind of turnkey.
Yep. Exactly. And then we've got, field support guys that will go out and do the startup commissioning, owner training, and then we're there for the long haul for the life of the building. So, continue to provide support, service, and even upgrades once it gets to that point. So, now it's been kind of fun for me. I've been able to actually go out and kind of replace, sell upgrades to some of the pump systems that my dad sold however many years ago. So yeah, we're definitely there for the long haul on that distribution side. And then, our territory is the greater Houston area, a little bit of kind of that southeast coast of Texas. And on the other side of the house, the manufacturing side, that's Cougar Systems. And we're a UL 508A and 698A control panel shop. You can kind of see, if I can point to it right here, that's an example of one of the control panels that we make. And basically, they complement the pumps and valves and things that we source on the distribution side. So they do operate as separate companies. Cougar Sales is a local rep here in Houston. And then we have about a little over a dozen distributors across the U.S., including, California, where they are our local rep. And so we're selling to them, and then they're packaging it with their other equipment and selling it on to the contractor or the end user.
Very cool. Wow. So are you guys, I would imagine, are you bringing contractors in-house to kind of teach them how some of this stuff works, or do you guys go out to the field, or maybe a combination of both?
Yes. Yeah. The training has been a huge part of what the way we go to market. And that really goes back to us being what we would consider a very technical rep. And just in general, we pride ourselves in the knowledge we have, not only of our products, but also the systems that they go into and how they affect the whole system and how the whole building is going to react. And so, for a long time, that effort had been kind of organic and just happened out in the field as we were starting up equipment or doing service, providing some kind of on-site or on-the-job training. Right. And a few years ago, we were able to expand our office space and build out the training center that you see behind me. And so that's become a much more formal effort over the last couple of years to provide scheduled classes for consulting engineers, for installing contractors, and for the end users.
And being a little bit more deliberate about getting that information out. Yeah,
absolutely. And having a great response to it. And the in-person classes are great. I really enjoy those. You get a lot more kind of back and forth and can learn a lot more about people's specific applications and issues. Obviously, this year with COVID, had to kind of pivot a little bit to the virtual. And we were already kind of getting geared up for that, but in a very different mindset. Our idea was, okay, we'll just live broadcast the classes as they're happening. Right. And if people can't come in person, they can kind of interact that way. And once COVID hit, everybody kind of was starting to do the, hey, check out our live webinar of this and that. And a lot of death by PowerPoint on those. And we just, nobody wanted to sit through another webinar. And so we all this equipment behind me got cleared out of our workshop, and it turned into, having people go in and do hands-on training, take apart the valves and pumps and panels and put them back together and learn how they work, to becoming basically a live studio. And
I was going to say a video marketing company, right? At that point, you're creating videos and content almost. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I have a background kind of with, I love just technology, and even had a side business doing home theater installs and stuff like that. So the chance for me to be able to buy new cameras and microphones and all this stuff was, that's
this guy.
Fun, right?
That's the reason why we're able to do this, because he loves doing all this other stuff. I literally walk in the room and just sit down and wait for him to finish setting everything up and pushing all the buttons and tweaking all the knobs. But yeah,
I'm jealous. I'm jealous of y'all's setup. You got some nice equipment there. So, I got to kind of put all that together, and we started live broadcasting these classes where I was just kind of the monkey in front of the camera, walking through all of the different equipment, demonstrating the equipment live, mixed in a little bit of presentations here and there. And we had great response. And, over that kind of 6-month period ending last month, we went from having, 4 to 5 guys in an in-person class to having 30 to 40 on a virtual class.
Jeez.
And, getting a lot, I have to talk a lot more. I can't ask questions and things like that. So it was an adjustment.
Not a lot of feedback coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple here and there in the chat, but in general, not only did I learn a lot, it was a lot of fun, but, I think we were able to put out some good content that resonated with a lot of people. We got a lot of good feedback, especially from the end users, where they had some downtime, building engineers maybe working 1 week off, 1 week on, and this gave them an opportunity to kind of do some personal training, technical training while they had that week off. So the next step of that was taking the training classes and breaking them up into, 5-minute sections, calling them tech talks. I was
going to say, you could almost just archive all this stuff and have a database for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what we did. We launched it last month, called it our design portal. So it's a mixture of the videos and the online training there, as well as kind of a technical document library for the consulting engineers where they can go in, grab all of the information they need to be able to go in and design certain parts of their project and, drop the drawings and things right onto CAD. Yeah. And a lot of that came from, that's an effort we'd had going for a long time, but we can't go into the offices as much anymore. So this made it a lot more self-service for them to be able to.
Well, it kind of forced you to do that too, right? I mean, it's funny how obviously as terrible and crappy as this whole situation's been, how it's forced some people to do some of those things that maybe they thought about doing or weren't real comfortable, but you almost kind of
there quick.
Tough shit, gotta go. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you got to do it. Yeah, and so now it kind of pushed you into a position that you maybe not have been thinking about being in before, but now you've got this, like you said, a huge database and a resource database, and you guys are kind of the end all be all for that technology and that training, and it's like everybody's coming to you for that, and you've got it all online. It's to be able to pivot and move that quickly. That's awesome, and I'm sure you guys have seen pretty good returns from it, not only from a monetary standpoint, but from just a marketing standpoint too.
Absolutely, and we brought on a marketing specialist named Rebecca earlier this year. She's been a huge help in making all of this happen, because I can, like you said earlier, you just get to kind of walk in, do your thing and right. walk out. And so she does that, everything after the fact so that I can kind of do that,
Stay focused. Get all
we
know your pains, man. We thought about editing all these videos ourselves and then
I tried.
Yeah.
And I could have done it. It's just,
we got through one maybe. And it was kind of like, no,
too much.
This is nope. Yeah. So we feel your pain. And what's funny is we started this in February before we knew about the pandemic, right? And then it turned into like, oh crap, we can't have people in here anymore. And so we originally, we're in Orange County, California. We originally thought about, we'll just try and get some people from Orange County, but then that happened and we can't do this. So now we're, like I said, we're spreading out and here we are talking to some people in Houston, cool. And it's just kind of turned everything into a whole new animal, but for the good, right? It's been fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's opened up a lot. We were kind of already on the Zoom train early on. We had actually transitioned our phone system over to Zoom pre-COVID because we wanted to be able to react in case of, unfortunately here in Houston, we have a lot of flooding events.
I was going to say the guy that we just had on talked about a couple of different floods and being able to pivot and move remote pretty easily.
Yeah, we've always been able to respond really well to hurricanes and the flooding events, and a lot of the equipment that we sell has to be serviced or replaced after those. And so we moved to a cloud-based accounting and ERP system. We have the Zoom for our phone system, and all of that was great until everyone decided to start using Zoom in the middle of March.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, all of our phones and everything else broke for a few days. And, luckily Zoom sorted it out pretty quickly. But yeah, for a minute I was like, oh, we're in great shape. And then it was like, oh man.
Yeah.
I think we had,
not good.
Yeah, we had a hiccup with them. Obviously we're talking on Zoom. It was probably March, right? Remember they said they went from like 20 million users to 200 million in the blink of an eye. They had to reformat, change everything. Crazy.
My wife has seen it. She's still working from home. You talk about like the users growing. She saw it on our bandwidth at home with our Wi-Fi. With our internet use. When kids started working, or kids started that day that school started, everybody's working from home, or everybody's doing school from home. And she said her internet speed went down in the garbage because everybody's online at the same time. It's pretty crazy. It's a new world, man. Yeah. It's fun though.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's allowed us to be able to, reach out and do things like this and attract people to the trainings and other things that, wouldn't have typically done it. I mean, a year ago, if we had tried to say, hey, let's get some building engineers to join a Zoom webinar for our training,
they'll laugh at you.
Why? Nah, we're not going to do that. Yeah. What? No. But now it's normal and actually it's a better value for them. They're in and out in an hour, and our classes in person were 2 hours to make it worth the trip and all of that. So it was a half day commitment for them. So I think actually it's worked out really well for everyone. Yeah.
Do you find yourselves, are you and your products, are they being more requested by the developers and the owners of the property, or is it the contractor that comes in and says, hey, I know these guys that have these systems, or maybe a combination of both?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways that we go to market, or that scenario could happen when you have and they are kind of related. So if we start kind of where you were in the existing building, we'd love to get in front of that owner or property management company and help drive what we call basis of design. So we want to be helping them figure out what that system should be, and building out a scope of what the system should look like when they replace it, because a lot of times what's there is might be oversized or outdated technology, and it needs to kind of an update. So we love to drive that basis of design. We also have great relationships with our contractors. It's more of a partnership in a lot of ways than a customer vendor relationship, because when we go in and work to get that basis of design, then we can recommend the contractors that are a good fit to do the installation, and vice versa. If the service contractor or the installing contractor is already in the building and they get that request, then they can bring us in and help. They know that we can bring more to the table.
Kind of drive that sale for them.
Provider. Yeah. So that works really well in the aftermarket. And then, kind of tying that back to the new construction, we'd love for that owner or developer to be wanting our equipment or our systems in the design. But a lot of times it's more driven by the consulting engineer, for us specifically, the plumbing and mechanical engineers. And so we like to get in front of them and help them, work out the design. And again, we're bringing to the table that expertise to be able to help size and select the equipment, maybe even bring in some new ideas for design, rather than just saying, here, spec my stuff, or I can get you that pump selection.
Right.
Like that.
So being around it for a while, I'm sure there's relationships there, especially with those engineer partners. Cause I would imagine that's probably, I mean, if I'm an outside person looking in, I would imagine that's probably your most valuable relationship, just because they're the ones, designing everything and at the end making those recommendations. How are you guys developing those relationships and maintaining those relationships with maybe new ones that, obviously, like I said, I'm sure you have a bunch already, but how are you developing new ones and maintaining the ones that you have?
Sure. It's a really good question. And it's changed a little bit, obviously, with COVID. We've got a great team on our sales team that have been working on getting in front of the engineers more. And Scott McGee, Vice President of Cougar, my dad's business partner, has really kind of headed up that effort. And he's worked with one of our engineering salesmen, Michael Balboni, and they've really just been able to get out in front of the engineers a lot before COVID, in their offices doing lunch and learns, what we call Coffee with Cougar, kind of, set up and have a kind of a topic for discussion. And, that was really successful in kind of getting the conversation going, maybe challenging what the typical design might be, and then letting them know, hey, here's how we can help you when projects come up. So ultimately what we're looking for is that they look to us as a resource to help them with their design, and they'll reach out when they do that. So that's kind of pivoted a little bit with COVID, and a lot of that's happening virtually, and why we kind of launched that design portal to make it a little bit more kind of where they can get that information on their own. But maintaining the relationships with the we really have to do it with all three: the consulting engineers, the installing contractors, and the end users, because we do kind of want to be involved in all three parts of the kind of the different projects for us. So
and from a marketing standpoint, are there things you guys are doing to stay visible outside of those videos and all those other things you do? It's one thing we like to talk to contractors specifically, or people in this industry, just because it's kind of a new ish idea, right? To be online and have a social presence and all those things. But are those things you guys are doing deliberately or with purpose?
Absolutely. We started going in on video content pretty hard. I'd say almost about 2 years ago. And really our approach kind of ties in with that training.
That training stuff,
And so for us, it's that, we want to be able to put out content that's useful to them, that they can, it's not just us beating our chest like, hey, look how great Cougar is, but it's, hey, here's some things that might be helpful for what you're doing, whether it's a tip of the week video on how to, change the seal on a pump, or some, the tech talk on pump selections for a booster system, things like that. So we want to get all of that content out there as much as possible. LinkedIn has been a great place to be able to do that. And, it's definitely been a deliberate approach. And it's funny that you mentioned that it's kind of new for our market. When I first started doing videos and stuff, I would show them to my wife and be like, hey, what do you think? I think it's kind of cool. And she goes, this is terrible. You look like a robot. Like, I was like, that was kind of rough. And I watched it back and I was like, okay, she's right.
Maybe, yeah.
Hi, I'm Tim Zacharias. It was blunt feedback. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? The bar is actually kind of low.
Very low. Very low.
It doesn't have to be that great, right?
Right.
So we just went for it, wanted to get the information out there. And, hopefully the quality of our content is improved over time. But again,
I guess what does the wife say? What does she think about it?
I stopped asking for her opinion. That was easier than getting beat up all the time. So So definitely, the LinkedIn strategy with the videos, the kind of that technical training approach has been helpful. And then just trying to be, genuine and who we are. I think we've done some, try to mix in some funny stuff. We did a Cougar pumpkin spice kind of marketing campaign in October. That was pretty fun. Things like that. So, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And, as long as LinkedIn continues to, have this kind of organic reach that it does, I think it's going to be a great platform for us.
That's awesome. Very cool.
This is cool.
What are some of the things you guys, from a challenge standpoint, face on a daily basis, and maybe how is that, involved with your role specifically there, or maybe your new role now, right? I mean,
sure,
changing your role.
Yeah, there's multiple, right? I mean, I think we're like a lot of people right now. The COVID has been its own challenge just in kind of navigating internally how we should handle things with employees and working.
Well, especially from a manufacturing standpoint, right? I mean, were you guys pretty close in quarters as far as from an employee standpoint? Manufacturing putting those components together?
Yeah, luckily our panel shop is decently spread out where the guys have, plenty of space between their workstations and can go out into the warehouse and have a little bit more workspace if they needed to or wanted to. And really we try to pivot everyone outside of the office that we could. And we did for a long time. We had a lot of people working from home. But between our production guys in the panel shop, the warehouse kind of activities, and then our field service guys, and then to an extent our outside sales team, they were still having to be out and about. And so kind of balancing that difference between, who's out and about, who's working from home, and making sure that, expectations were being met and that people were actually getting done what they needed to. Balancing all that became challenging, and to the point where we decided, hey, look, I think it's things seem to be under control. Let's get everybody back into the office. And really, I think that, we saw an improvement in the culture and general morale when we did that. I think people were kind of excited to be back in the office, and
for sure,
not sharing my bedroom with my wife as my office, that
or a workstation with a 3-year-old. Yeah.
6-year-old and a 2-year-old, running around in the background got a little challenging. So, that was a whole deal out in the field. I think our guys handled it pretty well, and there were already precautions in place for some of the places that we do work, the hospitals and things like that. So, PPE things that change wasn't significant for those guys as much. So, I think for us, the challenge really is as we're kind of looking forward, is how can we take what we've done to this point and scale it up to get to that next level. And a lot of that has to do with transferring the knowledge that we have from the guys that have been in the company and in the industry for a long time onto kind of the newer employees, so that we can keep that reputation of being that technical resource.
Yeah. So. And where are you guys finding or having the most success finding employees, especially on that training side, or not necessarily training, but the guys out in the field that are doing the the hands-on work, where you guys have the most success finding those guys?
Sure. We started a referral program for employees a couple of years ago, and that's been really successful. So if they refer somebody and they stay on for a year in good standing, they get a little bonus payout for that. And we've gotten some really great people that way. And we've also, we hired a recruiting firm, and I feel like doing that helped us or forced us to kind of formalize our hiring process. And so really having a really kind of good hiring process and getting new candidates that we probably wouldn't have found, if you put a job posting up on Monster or ZipRecruiter or any of that, you're going to get a million responses.
Right.
So it just wasn't efficient for us to be able to go through those and weed out the ones that were good. So having the recruiter do that for us really helped, and having that multi-step recruiting process where we're focusing on, in the first interview, making sure that they align with the company values, second interview on, culture fit with a team lunch, and a second round interview, and then doing some, kind of personality screenings, things like that. Getting multiple people involved in the decision has really helped us, not only hire great people, but ones that are culture fits also.
Yeah. Back up a little bit. You said step 2, you have like a culture fit lunch. You guys actually, you take a few prospect.
Sure, yeah.
Do you take them out? You take them out to lunch and have them hang out with a few of the employees and kind of feel it out. That's amazing. I've never heard that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, that's worked out really well. And sorry, I'm battling the
No, you're good. Yeah.
Blinds, but having that lunch is good for 2 reasons. One, you get to see the person kind of in a more relaxed environment.
Yeah, relax a little bit.
Like, socially, and you get a lot more perspective from other people, and maybe that they see something that you don't, or something sticks out to them that didn't come up in the interview process. So that's really helped with that culture fit. And, that first round interview is tough. The questions are specifically written around our core values. And so making sure that, people line up with the core values before they even get to that team lunch is like I said, our turnover rate has gone down significantly since we've started this hiring process.
That's awesome.
How often do they make it from step 1, from the core values interview to, I guess, where's that drop off? Do you find more of the drop off after the culture fit lunch? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Sure. Yeah. I would say we cut probably a third, no, 2/3 probably in the first interview.
Okay.
Like say we have 3 or 4 people come in for the first round, we might ask 1 or 2 back. But we've even before we start that first round, which now sometimes is over Zoom and not always in person. Right. I would say that the pool that we're pulling from is better than what we were when we started.
Right.
So we're not,
you got somebody doing that for you.
With 30 different resumes and down from there. We might have 4 or 5 people that we're starting with before we get to the first round interview. So, it's a pretty tight, I would say once we get to the point where we're doing that core value interview, the first one, it's still a pretty tight group, but we definitely don't bring everyone back very much.
Right.
So are you using any of these, the tech videos and the training stuff? Does any of that get used when training new hires, or do you guys have something totally separate for that, or?
Absolutely. So we're trying to figure out a good way to kind of build out that internal learning platform.
Yeah, it sounds like you have all the data, or that you just got to aggregate it and put it all together into a
Sure. And so they have access to the design portal, to the YouTube channel, to all of that. But we're trying to kind of take it a step further and build it out into that platform where they watch the video
step by step,
take the class, and then, get challenged with some questions. Or, there's some platforms out there that allow you kind of do practice, sales pitches or phone calls, things like that.
Right.
So, trying to figure out which one will be a good fit for us. But like I said, that is definitely something we've recognized as something that we need to step up our game in order to be able to grow.
Well, it's not even step up. It's almost, you've already got it built out, right? You've got the hard part. Like, somebody could easily say, hey, this is how we train somebody, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then you actually have to come up with all the content for all those things, right? It sounds like you guys already have most of that already. You got the hard stuff out of the way. It's just putting it all together.
We do. Yeah, but then, having it and then getting people to use it.
Right.
Is that second piece.
That's the challenge.
So, So I think we're in a great spot, like you said, to be able to do it. And I think that's going to be one of the key ways that we.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing there, the biggest takeaway for a lot of people listening, maybe is just that not only there's so many good things that can come from that, right? Like you're creating all this content, one from a marketing standpoint, two, you're creating validity in the marketplace because people know that you know what you're doing. And then three, you can turn on and use all that same content in a training aspect too. And so it's just one of those things that obviously there was time and it takes effort to do all that stuff. But when there's 3 or 4 different ways to be able to use that same stuff, that same media, it pays for itself in my opinion. But yeah
absolutely.
Cool. Very cool.
Absolutely.
So what's the future look like for you guys? Where are you headed? What's the plan? I mean, obviously the tech and what you're doing is always changing, I'm sure. So trying to stay up with that, but geographically or different verticals or.
It's a good question. And we've tried a couple of different ways to be able to grow. We did try a geographic expansion into Central Texas, and that proved to be a little bit more challenging than we expected. A lot of what happens in our industry is, you build up those relationships and that reputation in your market over time. And it's really hard to take that from one market and
just put it into another one. Yeah.
And so we kind of retracted back from that and said, you know what, let's stick to the Houston area where we are established, and instead let's add on complementary products and systems. And so that's really what we focused on over the last couple of years, is being able to bring new complementary products to our customers and really be able to have that whole package for what they need on both the plumbing and mechanical side. So we've got some really cool new products, especially on the mechanical side. They're new to us, not necessarily new to the market.
Right.
Tower Tech is a cooling tower line. And then the Grumfoss pumps, which we've represented for a long time on the plumbing side, has some really cool things coming out for the mechanical or HVAC side for cooling the building. Not only just in the pumps and controls that they have, but really a whole new kind of outlook called distributive pumping that gets rid of control valves and kind of flips the normal control method on its head. So, those are kind of things that we can see to be able to kind of have growth within the Houston market on the Cougar sales side is like I said, just new products to the same people in our same market. And then with Cougar Systems, that growth potential is pretty large because, like I said, we're in about a dozen markets right now. And obviously there's a lot more large markets in the U.S. So, being able to go out and find additional partners for the Cougar Systems control panels and, be able to grow that way by expanding out into new markets. So, a lot of that hinges on us being able to scale internally to be able to handle that. So like I said, that's kind of some stuff we've been working on the last few years to kind of build up internally our processes and our technology to be able to be ready for growth. And that's, this was supposed to be the first year of our kind of kickoff of our growth plan, but we're going to be resetting for next year. So I think we're still in a good spot.
Everything's resetting for next year. Yeah. Yes. You're not alone there. Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate the time. It's been awesome. We appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us for a little bit. And before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity to let the people know where to find you and get a hold of you if they need to.
Absolutely. And guys, I really appreciate it. Had a lot of fun, good conversations today. And, if you want to learn more about Cougar USA, you can check us out on our website, cougarusa.com. We're also all over LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, I think, but I think mostly Instagram LinkedIn and website is the place to get us. All of our contact information is there and more than happy to help any way that we can.
Awesome. Tim, thanks so much. It's been awesome. And congratulations again on the promotion.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Keep in touch and stay safe out there.
Cool.
All right. Y'all too.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.